You think you choose who you fall for, but most of the time, it's already decided, long before you even meet them. There's something quietly unsettling about that thought, isn't there? The idea that the spark you feel, the chemistry that seems so unique, might actually be your mind recognizing a pattern, not your heart finding something new. I feel that too sometimes, when someone feels instantly familiar and I can't explain why. It's not magic, it's memory disguised as emotion. Tonight we're diving into the psychology of attraction. Not the movie kind, not the surface level butterflies, but what's really happening underneath when you feel drawn to someone. Because attraction isn't just about who we like, it's about who our past tells us is safe, even when they're not. Before we start, take a deep breath, get comfortable, and if you enjoy reflecting on the way our minds shape what we call love, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and telling me in the comments where you're listening from tonight. I always love seeing how far these quiet conversations reach. All right, let's begin. When you feel that instant spark, that strange sense that someone sees you, what's really happening inside your brain? It's not random, it's not fate. It's a story your nervous system has been writing for years, quietly guiding you toward the people who feel like home, even when home wasn't always safe. That's where our story begins. The myth of chemistry. They call it chemistry. That instant, unexplainable pull between two people, as if some invisible force has chosen you both. You lock eyes across a room, you laugh at the same time, your words fall into rhythm like they've been rehearsed. It feels cosmic, effortless, real. But what if it's not? What if what we call chemistry is just our brains recognizing patterns, familiar emotional blueprints, and mistaking them for destiny? See, your mind isn't a blank slate when you meet someone new. It's a living archive. Every relationship you've had, with your parents, your friends, your first love, left behind an emotional fingerprint, a tone of voice that feels comforting, a look that reminds you of safety, or even tension that feels strangely exciting. When someone new mirrors those emotional cues, your nervous system lights up. It whispers, "I know this." It feels natural. It feels meant to be. But it's not magic. It's recognition. This is why sometimes you're drawn to the exact type of person you swore you'd never fall for again. It's not because you want pain. It's because deep down, your body confuses familiarity with security. You mistake what feels known for what feels right. The irony is that real safety often feels boring at first, precisely because your nervous system doesn't recognize it. That calm, balanced energy doesn't spark adrenaline, and so your brain misinterprets it as a lack of connection. But that's where the myth of chemistry becomes dangerous. Think about that spark, that rush, when someone texts you back after making you wait. The way your heart races, your breath shortens, your thoughts spin in circles. That's not love. That's uncertainty. It's your brain producing dopamine in response to unpredictability. The same chemical reaction you get from gambling or scrolling through social media. In that uncertainty, you find excitement. In that emotional roller coaster, you find meaning. It's a loop that convinces you you've found something deep, when really you've found something intense. But intensity is not intimacy. It's just louder. It burns fast. And when it fades, you're left searching for that same high again. This is why some people bounce from relationship to relationship, chasing that spark. Because the moment things get calm, the moment things get real, it doesn't feel like chemistry anymore. It feels off. It feels like something's missing. But what's missing isn't connection. It's chaos. And yet, it's not your fault. This pattern is wired into all of us. Evolution trained your brain to seek out the familiar because familiarity once meant survival. When you were small, the people who raised you, no matter how inconsistent or confusing they were the source of your safety. So, your mind learned, this is love, even if it hurt, even if it left you uncertain. So, when you meet someone who recreates that same emotional frequency, you feel chemistry. You feel drawn in. It feels like home, because it is home, just replayed. So, when we talk about attraction, we're not just talking about looks or shared interests. We're talking about attachment templates. We're talking about how your nervous system remembers love as a mix of warmth and tension, how it mistakes unpredictability for passion. You think you found someone new, but often you've just found a new version of the same story. And here's the catch. When you meet someone who's truly emotionally stable, someone who communicates clearly, respects boundaries, and doesn't trigger your anxiety, you might feel nothing at first. It might feel flat. You might tell yourself, there's no spark. But that's only because your body isn't in fight or flight anymore. It doesn't need to stay on alert. It's peaceful. And peace feels foreign if you've lived in chaos. This is where awareness changes everything. When you start recognizing that chemistry is not always a sign of compatibility, but often a sign of familiarity, you can start choosing differently. You can start retraining your body to find calm, attractive, not chaos. You can learn that love isn't supposed to feel like a guessing game. It's supposed to feel like safety. The moment you understand that, you take back your power from the illusion of chemistry. It's strange, isn't it? The same energy that makes a person magnetic can also make them dangerous. The same qualities that make you fall fast, intensity, mystery, volatility, are often the ones that make you feel small later on. And so, when you find yourself drawn to someone instantly, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, do I feel chemistry because this is new? Or because this feels familiar? Because maybe, just maybe, that spark isn't proof that you've met the one. Maybe it's your past lighting the match again. And that's where we'll go next, into the second layer of attraction. Not what pulls you in, but what keeps you there, even when you know it's wrong. The gravity of unresolved needs. It's easy to believe that attraction is a matter of taste, that you like certain faces, certain voices, certain types of confidence. But underneath all that, there's a deeper gravitational pull. The pull of unmet needs. The truth is, most of what draws you towards someone isn't about who they are. It's about what they awaken in you. Attraction often forms around the cracks in your past, around the parts of yourself that still ache for resolution. Sometimes you meet someone who feels like they see you, not because they truly understand you, but because they mirror back the exact emotional wound you've never healed. Maybe you grew up having to earn affection, so now you're drawn to people who make you prove your worth. Maybe you were taught to equate attention with love, so now you fall for the ones who give you just enough attention to keep you hooked, but never enough to make you feel secure. The pattern becomes a loop, an unconscious ritual of trying to fix the past through someone new. And here's the part that most people never realize. Your mind doesn't crave happiness. It craves familiarity. That's why the same emotional patterns keep showing up in different faces. The neglect, the distance, the inconsistency, they feel like home. Your nervous system has adapted to them. That familiarity tricks you into believing it's chemistry, but what you're really feeling is recognition. Recognition of the same emotional climate you've always known. This is why people often mistake attachment for love. Because attachment feels urgent, it feels real, it feels like something you must protect. When someone activates your anxiety by pulling away, by going cold, by giving mixed signals, your body interprets that as intensity. You start thinking, if I can just make this work, it means I'm enough. That's not romance, that's survival. And your brain rewards that chase with dopamine and cortisol, a biochemical blend that feels intoxicating. You confuse the high of relief with the warmth of love. But love isn't supposed to be a chase, it's supposed to be a landing. Let's talk about the paradox of attraction, how your body can crave what your mind hates. You can know, logically, that someone isn't good for you, yet still feel unable to walk away. That's not weakness, that's conditioning. Your subconscious links their behavior to your sense of identity. You may find yourself saying, I know they're not right for me, but I can't stop thinking about them. The truth is, you're not addicted to them. You're addicted to the version of yourself you're trying to heal through them. That's the hidden psychology behind obsession. The more emotionally unavailable someone is, the more your inner child wants to win their love, as if that victory could rewrite the past. Every unanswered message, every cold reaction becomes a challenge to your self-worth. The relationship stops being about the person and becomes about your own need to be chosen. But being chosen isn't love, it's validation. And validation fades the moment it's earned. When you start recognizing this dynamic, it can feel unsettling. You begin to see how many of your past connections weren't about love, but about pain dressed as passion. You realize that sometimes the person who felt like home was really just a reflection of your earliest emotional blueprint. It's not that they were toxic by nature, it's that the pattern between you was familiar, rehearsed, inevitable. So how do you break free from that gravity? It starts with awareness, but awareness alone isn't enough. You have to retrain your nervous system to recognize calm as safe, to stop equating chaos with depth. The next time you meet someone who doesn't trigger your anxiety, who feels gentle and consistent, your body might resist. It'll tell you, I'm bored. But that boredom is actually peace. A peace your body doesn't yet trust. You've been conditioned to associate love with tension. So when love is calm, your brain assumes something's missing. Here's the irony. You might even sabotage the relationships that could truly make you happy, just to return to the ones that keep you anxious. Because your subconscious mind doesn't want change. It wants repetition. It wants to relive the same story, hoping for a different ending. But every time you replay that script, the ending stays the same. Imagine your emotional patterns like gravity wells in space. Each one represents a wound that hasn't been healed. Abandonment, rejection, neglect. When someone's energy matches that gravity, you fall in. You orbit them, unable to escape, even when you see the damage it causes. It's not that they're pulling you in, it's that your gravity matches theirs. Healing isn't about cutting off attraction, it's about changing your gravity. Healing means teaching your nervous system that love doesn't have to hurt. It's not the absence of passion, it's the presence of peace. It's not the adrenaline rush of uncertainty. It's the quiet comfort of being understood. You'll know you're healing when the people who once felt irresistible now feel unstable. You'll know you're growing when consistency starts to feel magnetic, when kindness starts to feel exciting, when you no longer crave the chaos that used to define your connections. And yes, that takes time, because this isn't just psychology, it's biology. Your body has been wired to associate unpredictability with reward. So, when you meet someone who doesn't play games, who texts back, who shows up, your brain doesn't get the same dopamine hit. It feels too easy, too calm. But calm is what real love feels like once you stop confusing anxiety with attraction. You start to see the difference between being wanted and being valued, between being chosen and being safe, between being needed and being seen. Those differences change everything, because the goal isn't to find someone who sparks your trauma, it's to find someone who doesn't ignite it at all. And when that happens, love becomes less like a storm and more like gravity in reverse. Not something that pulls you down, but something that helps you rise. That's the paradox most people never notice. Real love doesn't make you lose yourself. It helps you find the parts of you that never got to rest. And the moment you stop chasing intensity, you start attracting peace. That peace, quiet, steady, honest, is what your heart has been craving all along. You just didn't recognize it before. And from that realization, the next question begins. What happens when attraction fades? Not because it's gone, but because it's transformed into something deeper. What does love look like when it's no longer about need, but about choice? That's where we'll go next. Why real connection is quiet. We live in a world that worships noise. We crave stimulation, excitement, the thrill of something new. In fact, the louder it is, the more we assume it's real. A loud conversation in a crowded room feels more exciting than a quiet moment between two people who are just present with each other. A constant stream of messages on our phones creates a sense of urgency, of importance, of belonging. The more chaotic the world around us, the more we are convinced that something meaningful is happening. But what if I told you that real connection isn't loud at all? What if the deepest, most profound relationships are the ones that feel unremarkable at first, because they're built on understanding, patience, and trust, not adrenaline or drama? What if connection didn't come from excitement, but from something much quieter? This is the paradox of attraction that most people don't recognize until they've been through the cycle enough times. We think that attraction is defined by fireworks, by intensity, by feeling like we've been swept off our feet. We crave the rush, the butterflies, the feeling that someone is different from everyone else. But in reality, those fireworks often fade, and what's left behind is a deeper truth. Love, real connection, is the absence of chaos. The kind of connection that feels lasting, meaningful, and genuine doesn't need to shout to be heard. It doesn't need to compete for attention or constantly prove itself. True connection doesn't beg for validation, doesn't rely on grand gestures or emotional highs. It simply is. It exists in the pauses between words, in the spaces where silence is comfortable, in the mutual understanding that doesn't need to be said out loud. This may sound counterintuitive, but think about the relationships that have truly nourished you, the ones that have stood the test of time. They weren't built on drama or excitement, were they? They were built on consistent presence, on showing up when it mattered, on understanding without words, on being quietly there for one another. Real love doesn't feel like a chase, because when you stop running, you realize you've already found the one person who was never going anywhere. And that's when you start to recognize the difference between attention and connection. Attention is fleeting. It's the desire to be noticed, to be validated, to be seen. Connection, on the other hand, is much quieter. It's the unspoken bond that grows over time, like the roots of a tree buried deep in the ground, holding it steady and strong, even when the wind blows. So, why do we still crave that initial spark? That explosive feeling when we meet someone new? Part of it is that we confuse intensity with authenticity. In a world where everything moves so fast, we think the most exciting moments are the most real. But those moments are often just surface level. They're dopamine-driven, chemical reactions that feel good in the moment, but fade just as quickly. Real connection, however, isn't built on fleeting excitement. It's built on the steady rhythm of everyday moments, shared laughs, quiet walks, simple conversations. When you meet someone who's truly aligned with your energy, you'll notice something different. There's no rush. There's no need to impress, no need to perform. You can sit together in silence and feel like everything is just as it should be. There's a peace in it, a comfort that comes from knowing that the connection is real, not because it's thrilling, but because it's grounded in something deeper, something that doesn't need to be constantly renewed, revalidated, or rekindled. This is the real magic of connection. Not that it starts with fireworks, but that it grows quietly, steadily, like a flame that burns long and bright because it's tended to with care. It's about finding someone whose presence feels safe, not exciting or unpredictable, but safe. And safety doesn't mean dull or boring. It means grounded, stable, secure. It means you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to chase anything. You can just be. You see, this quiet connection doesn't happen by accident. It's a result of being honest, being vulnerable, being real with each other. It's about showing up without needing to perform, without needing to impress. You stop wearing masks, stop pretending to be someone you're not. And when you do that, when you let go of the need to be anyone other than yourself, you start attracting people who are drawn to that same authenticity. But here's where it gets tricky. The world we live in doesn't value quiet connection. It values the loud, the flashy, the dramatic. You're told that love should be intense, that passion should always be explosive, that you should feel constantly alive when you're with someone. But that's not sustainable. It's not real. The true test of connection comes not in the high points, but in the quiet moments in between, when everything is calm, when you're simply being with one another. And maybe that's why we run from stillness, because stillness asks us to let go of the illusion of control, to surrender the fantasy that life and love is meant to be a thrill ride. It asks us to trust that, even in silence, everything is as it should be. And that's a harder lesson than we think. Think about the last time you were in a truly peaceful relationship. Maybe it was with a partner, maybe it was with a friend or family member. What did it feel like? Not exciting, not dramatic, but comfortable, right? Secure. Even when there was no talking, there was understanding. There was a sense of being held without having to do anything. That's the beauty of real connection. It doesn't need the noise of the world to validate it. It exists quietly because it is enough as it is. This kind of connection isn't built on the need for excitement. It's built on the need for presence. To be there, fully, in the moment. No games, no posturing, no pretending. And when you can show up like that, when you can be completely you with someone else, that's when love becomes something far deeper than attraction. It becomes a sanctuary. So when you find someone who doesn't require you to perform, to chase, to impress, don't mistake that for boredom. Don't mistake that for lack of chemistry. Real love doesn't need fireworks. It needs silence, space, and the freedom to just exist with another person, without fear, without pretending. The connection you seek isn't in the chaos or the excitement. It's in the quiet, in the stillness. That's where love grows. Not loud, not fast, but deep. And when you stop needing the thrill of the chase, you'll find that what you've been looking for all along was already there, just waiting for you to slow down enough to see it. Outro. If this session helped you reflect or find peace, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more calm, reflective sessions, and share where you're listening from. I'd love to hear from you. Take a deep breath, let the quiet settle in, and remember, love doesn't need to be loud to be real. You're exactly where you need to be.